Welcome to the Fancy Thinker. I'm Jared, and it's time once again for a bunch of off-the-cuff reviews. I've once again built up a backlog of stuff that I finished, and I'm gonna just kind of wing it here and go off my brain, see if anything comes out that's worth saying here. So, uh, start off with a couple of graphic novels that I finished recently, and I'm going to start off with this one here. It's The Killer, Affairs of the State. Um, there's a French graphic novel. The Killer is an ongoing series that gets broken up into various miniseries here, and is put into these nice hardcover collections that they then release here in the United States by Archaea Comics, which is a imprint of Boom Studios. Um, this is written by Luc. No, it's not. It's drawn by Luc Jacamon, and it is written by somebody called Matz, Matz. No other names. So these guys have been working together for the whole series here, and this is the fourth or fifth volume that I've read of this series, and this volume is interesting because it's a new phase in our main character's life, and it's interesting also in that you do not need to really have read the previous volumes to understand what's going on in this graphic novel. It is self-contained. It is understood that this guy, this assassin, uh, is now working for the state kind of against his own wishes. And so that's where the previous volumes come to play. But that's all you really need to know going into this. This is its own story beyond that little bit of backstory we have. If you like philosophy, there's a lot of that in here. Um, and if you like some really clean line work, some really, um, you know, pretty good characterization, you get a pretty good sense of who the characters are and what they're saying and stuff, and a pretty good sense of place. And I really like Jacamon's artwork. It's pretty cool. I think where it suffers sometimes is on the colors. It doesn't. The colors they pop, but sometimes they blend. There's like whole crowds of people with the same blue shirt on, and so it kind of gives this sense of everything in the background is kind of just a construct and not really a part of society. And maybe that's the way our killer looks at life. Um, he is quite the nihilistic fellow. So if you like that kind of philosophy, this kind of look at the human race as a bunch of sheep that he has free reign just to pop off, and he has permission from the government to do so now. Yeah, but he justifies it. He justifies all his kills, and he justifies what he does, and he gives himself away sometimes because there is a little bit of sense that there's some little empathetic stuff going on in that head of his. But still, he's a pretty grim dude. But it is, plenty of cool action, plenty of cool scenes, plenty of cool stuff to think about in the way he justifies what he does. And so that is The Killer by Jacamon and Matz. All right, moving on to the next graphic novel, we have an adaptation of Octavia E. Butler's Parable of the Talents. If you've been paying attention to my channel, you know I read the novel earlier this year, way back in January, as part of the Speculative Speculations podcast. And then they came out with the adaptation of this. And I had previously read Abrams' comic arts, adaptations of Butler's Kindred and Parable of the Sower. So they finally came out with their adaptation of Parable of the Talents, and of course, I wasn't gonna not pick it up. I really loved the other two adaptations, and this one also did not disappoint. This is a fantastic adaptation. I was just as like the gut punch was just as hard. The emotion was there. The the feeling that I was going to get so angry and throw the book aside because of the events that happened in this book was still there. Um, yeah, this story is brutal. It is a story of the near future that is a little bit gearing towards an apocalyptic type future. It seems like, and then certain things happen, but it gets really, really grim, really, really fast, and some really bad stuff happens in here, and it can be tough to take, just as so you know. But they take Butler's writing, her prose, they use it to best effect. Her wonderful prose, they use it to best effect, and they use it in conjunction with this um, really dark kind of I don't know. It's kind of I can't even know how to describe this artwork. It's kind of it's a little abstract, but it's a little Picasso-ish, I guess, but well, not that much, but like you always know who's who and stuff like that, and there's no like distortion, but it's not the fine line artwork that you usually get in comic books, especially with superhero stuff. No, this is its own style, and I mean it's similar to the cover, except the cover's a little more detailed and a little more the coloring's a little more um, you know realistic, but the interior artwork does the job. It's moody, it's dark, and it really this was such a nice package, and it really, really just I can't believe I read this. I basically read the novel twice in 1 year, and that's how good it is. Uh, but that's also how good the adaptation is. It really hammers it home. Uh, Unbelievable, unbelievable. If you're into graphic novels, there's a couple that I suggest. Parable of the Talents is the star, and out of that too. There. All right, so what else am I reviewing here? Let's get to some books. How about that? I am reviewing, or what? I don't know, Witchy Eye by D.J. Butler. Wow, let me tell you about this book. This is a fantasy, but it takes place on an alternate magical history of our world. So it's a historical fantasy with magic. Oh, that's kind of redundant, right? It's an historical fantasy, right? Um, so, but the history is all messed up. Uh, it takes place on the North American continent, but there's no United States. This is in the early 1800s, and there's everything is just so different. The world that DJ Butler has created here is so unique and so it's like it's grounded in our history in certain aspect and wildly divergent from what we know as history as well, because magic will do that. The existence of magic, of course, would have made everything different, and I think his world that he's created here really reflects just how different our world would be. And so it's just fascinating. And there is also in this novel the existence of these creatures called they call them beastmen, but that's kind of derivative of who they really are. And you never really get a good sense of what, because they're always kind of in the distance. You don't really get a good sense of what they call themselves and what they represent, but I think that's going to be coming in further novels. This is the first book in a trilogy, and this book, so you don't really get a sense of the beast, of who the Beastmen are yet. They are involved in the story though, as well as our main character, who is Sarah, and she is the Witchy Eye. She was born with this birth defect where she's missing her eye, and there's a reason for that. She's kind of like a chosen one trope, but this trope is so well done. It's really, he really has some great characterization in this book, but not only with her, but with all of her supporting characters. They You really got to know these people very well, and I was just like, wow, these people are great. These really really cool characters. Um, there's there's a whole bunch of different politics going on about the different factions in the region of New Orleans, and there still is. It's called New Orleans still, and it's still French. Um, but there's also this Appalachia section, and there's this Ohio section that has its own like kingdom going on, and there's a Emperor Penn after Pennsylvania, and you don't really know. There's no map or anything, so you don't really know how all this is situated in the on the continent. But that would be interesting to look up. I should probably look it up to see if there is a map somewhere of this this world that Butler has created. Um, so the story also has lots of deep themes about loyalty, friendship, and and what you're really looking for in life. There's there's undead. um, there's necromancers, of course, because there's magic in this world, and there's a very interesting introduction of magic and how it works and stuff like that. And it's not like a hard magic system or at all anything like that. It is. He plays with a lot of stuff, and it is based upon the character's will and their willingness to delve into certain ley lines of power and stuff like that, or the magic within themselves, and it's it's based upon life force and stuff like that, and there's a lot of questions brought up with what that is exactly, and what is a soul, and what is a spirit, and what's the difference. And so that ties into all the religion too. And there is a kind of a Christian religion, but it's not the same as ours. Like I said, he really develops a lot of unique stuff here. And so while this you know Jesus Christ is an historical figure, could have been a magician, a sorcerer. Um, there is there is so much room for other stuff too, other religions and other viewpoints, and they don't always clash as much as you think that they would, especially in our world. So yeah, really well developed stuff. I really enjoyed this novel, and I'm hoping to get to the second one. Maybe I'll do one a year or something like that. But it was pretty cool stuff. So I highly recommend Witchy Eye. It was a lot of fun, and by DJ Butler. So and it is actually free to read on the Bain Books website. So I don't know if you like reading in a browser or what have you or whatever. They said it was free to download to a Kindle too, but I couldn't get to work. Maybe you have better luck than I will. Anyways, it is free to read on the website, and that's exactly what I did, and I had a blast. It was really good read. All right, so finally today, I am also going to talk about Robert Silverberg's The Book of Skulls. We are reading this as part of our sci-fi masterworks read along on pagechewing.com. So if anybody wants to join us for those, please let us know. We've gone through like 19 novels or something now. And we do one a month. And so I had read Silverberg before, but only some of his novellas and short stories. He had a novella in the Legends collection, and I read that, and it was some kind of sci-fi society that was very fantasy based, actually. So it was like sci fantasy, and and I guess that goes along with a book series that he writes that I don't know much about beyond that. And I always liked that story, and I read another short story by him in the books uh, of Dark Magic, Swords and Dark Magic, yeah, and that was pretty cool too. I really liked that one too. So I had hopes going into this that I was going to like it, but oh, well, it's a pseudo but. Anyways, I did like this book, but it was so different than the other stuff that I read by him, and I was like taken for it was a shock to the system. This is boy, how do I describe this? Basically, it's four guys. This is on the back. Four friends embark on a cross country trip in search of a legendary monastery. Yeah. So there they hope to find the secrets of immortality promised in an ancient manuscript, the Book of Skulls. Yeah. So that's the premise. This was a kind of combination of on the road with Heart of Darkness with this weird um fantasy search for immortal life at the end of it. Whew. It was it was so compelling to read this book. um there are some trigger warnings in here. There's a lot of sex talk. There's there's quite a bit of like misogyny. It fits with the characters. In this case, they are four young college guys who, you know, they act like four young college guys. They are definitely who they are. They're all not very likable at all. And that's part of the Heart of the Darkness quest here, because they are really, really looking deep into themselves and finding out things they don't necessarily like about themselves or each other, and finding out stuff that we won't like about them. But that finding out, that journey, is what's fascinating about this book. It really, really delves into it, and I read it very quickly. The writing style was free flowing. It was the points of view switched from chapter to chapter between the four characters, and there was first person for each of those chapters, and so it read very fast and was very engaging. You really got into their heads. You got to know each one of these characters intimately, and I just felt that I was like, wow, this book really was written well. It was put together well. It was structured well. um, and I really, my hat's off to Silverberg for just creating a very fascinating tale. There is, a mystery about who lives and who dies, and it's fun to kind of play with, try to do the guessing game along with the characters themselves. Do the guessing game about what's going to happen, and so it was kind of fun to it kept the pages turning, because you're like, oh, okay, what's going to happen next, and what's the decision they're going to make that's going to ultimately change all their lives. And so a really great read. So if you like that, not much science. This is a sci-fi masterwork. There's no science in it. There's a little bit of fantasy at the end, but that's about it. So all right, that's all for my reviews today. I hope you like this bunch of reviews and off the cuff stuff. No script today. We'll get back to doing that sometime. All right. With all that said, be good to each other, and thank you.